good, very good. So what I want to share today is the something I stumble upon. I stumble upon a lot of things sometimes. Is the practitioner tools. And there's so many tools available, and these are for us hypnotists, coaches, emotional intelligence coaches, and so on, and even for psychotherapists and all of this psychiatrists and psychologists and all that. And these tools are just so yummy.
Tell me more.
What do you mean, Tosa? I mean, well, they're just so good because it comes with a lot of assessments. It saves us a lot of time. It's just so much we can do with a client. And nowadays, with all of this, the overwhelm of quantity, sometimes client, not necessarily because of that, but sometimes it's good to offer the client a little more because everybody appreciates quantity. You go to a restaurant, you want to have a big meal. That's a good restaurant, you're going to go back, right? But it always helps. Like with my clients, I always give them homework. Every single time they get homework. Why? Because it helps them reframe and get to know themselves, get to know what they're going through, what they need to process, and then I get feedback on that, and then we work on what the feedback develops, right? So these, let me see, do I have this here? No, I don't have this, but these, maybe I can share it right now.
I don't know because we're not on Zoom, so I don't know if it will. But Carmen, you're right, because actually, in my sessions, I do a lot of emotional intelligence diagrams, and I give them techniques and strategies. And the next one, I say, what else did you learn about that? Which ones have worked for you? Because that is what I want them to do, is to figure out what is going on for them, so that then we have something to work on. So have you got some like questions for people? Is that what that is? A big load of questions for people?
Yes. What these are is a bunch of let me do this real quick over here. I'm going to take this as it comes out into my streaming. There are a bunch of positive psychology tools. These are the greatest tools that you can possibly have, in addition to a lot of client resources. There were a lot of handouts, and especially now with the requirement for content, it is very important to have this. I'm sorry, I'm still clicking through things. So what these positive psychology tools that are these are science-based, and they're made of, as being researched. So many people are skeptical about whether psychology works, whether hypnotherapy works, whether coaching works. So there's been so much research into, yes, it works, and here's the proof. So a lot of research went into these tools. So these tools come with a lot of assessments, exercises, even intervention, group therapy, handouts, homework, a lot of it. And they cover core areas for personal growth, beliefs and values, meanings and purpose, mindset, resilience, emotional intelligence. But then they have a lot of tools for well-being, mindfulness and self-care, gratitude, happiness, coping, compassion, grief, trauma, self-acceptance, you name it. But also it covers relationship and communication, marriage, relationship, communication, engagement, emotional intelligence, positive emotion, work, career productivity, motivation and goal achievement. I mean, it is a long list. So whatever topic you have in front of you for the particular day that you're working on, that is something that you can offer for next time to cover what you cover in that particular session, and also to direct them to the next step with some sort of exercise and handout. And I notice my clients, they love it. They simply love it.
So what happens is they become more self-aware?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. And then this takes them through how they process things, because oftentimes it's not just a story. It's not just what we want to change, what we want to improve, or what's the wound, right? But it's how we process that. And this is where you get a good therapist or a good coach versus not so good, because you need to, well, I need to, okay, I'm not talking about me. I am very focused on, I love your smile. I am very focused on the processes, because everybody processes the same event differently. What do you mean? Well, outside is raining. Both me and you are outside in the rain, and you might just enjoy it. And I say, well, let's go inside, or vice versa. So it's the same event, but how is it processed? So the same goes with everyone, every single one that wants to make it better. Therapy doesn't mean you need to, I'm not going to complete a sentence. It just means that you want to make something better. And the most important thing in life that you do is know thyself, right? Knowing yourself, because you know yourself, you get to know others in relationship to that. So yes, all of these tools, they help them understand how they process things. Not that they do something right or wrong, because there is no right or wrong in all of the homeworks I gave them, or all of the whatever they present to me. There is no right or wrong. So, take them out of that polarity, and then you direct them to an avenue that they go, that's all I want. Whether they complete the exercise or not, that's not as important as them going, I never thought about it.
Okay, so it's making them think again and rethink it again. And then tell me, would it make some people take responsibility for their part in something instead of blaming? Well, I'm like this because of, and actually going, well, yeah, that sucks. It happened. And okay, now it's my life, and what can I do about it? And I have a choice to move on.
Correct. And I still want to talk about blaming, but not today, because I really want to educate people on why they blame and how they can stay away from blaming. But that's a whole nother several conversations, right? But yes, it takes all of these exercises. It has them reframe, understand of, to some extent, this exercise directs you into what is required for a particular situation. And a lot of time we're not aware of what's required, especially in communication and self-forgiveness, gratitude. We don't know what's required. So as soon as we become aware of what's required, then we go, oh, I can do that, because we're good students and we want to get good grade.
Some people are good students, because I do know that sometimes I've specifically chosen, because I know that they'd say didn't like school, not to say this is homework that I'd like you to do. I have said this is some fun stuff where you can write down your thoughts on. So this is a game that you can play. We have to come up with something a bit more creative for those that because it's really true. Some people do not like the word homework. You can literally see them, that their eyes go, they glaze over, they shut it down.
All right. But now I wanna take you somewhere that is interesting to you. And I'm going to share it here on my camera, and I will present that to you later. You will have this recording later, because I don't necessarily have means to show this on your camera. But you also talked about I always touch up on the self. What is the self? Well, the self is such a complex mechanism. And earlier, me and you have gone through to portions of ourselves, and you were just so kind to walk us through the havening techniques, and it was just such an incredible experience. And the self, it's a complex mechanism, but what we need to know about this mechanism, it's how this mechanism, its influence, how it comes about at a consciousness level, how consciousness can affects us positively and not so positively oftentimes. And think about it like as a big funnel. You have a funnel, it's out there in a consciousness, and it trickles down and it gets all over your consciousness, your thought feeling patterns, right? So this is part of that is brainwashing, because certain layers of consciousness outside of you, like I'm going to stick with religion and the school. They influence your consciousness, what you think, what you believe to be true, to exist, to value, and so on. But what's happening lately with there's a lot of hatred in United States that I can say that I've experienced something like that in United States, and I've been here for over 34 years. Okay. So not in this country. So it gets me to look into it and how consciousness creates and moves and trickles and drips and influences everything else is something there is an ease of understanding how I understand it, and I can to a good degree explain it. So when some of the levels of the self, and I'm going to get to how that gets influenced from a higher perspective within the self, from William James, the father of functional psychology, from his perspective, we have the real self, which is the conscious self-image, and then the ideal self, and then we have the dreaded self, otherwise known as the ego. Well, let's not beat on the ego. We can have a lot of other conversation on that. Guys can talk about good things about don't meet on an ego, and then we have the unconscious self. So what the ideal self, we look at us from the lens of the ideal self, and then ideal self and dreaded self. And then we are face to face with every now and then we are face to face with the real self, which includes the dreaded self and the ideal self and the unconscious self. And oftentimes clients need to understand how this real self works, because if you go into the dreaded self and you give it a little bit of love, it's not going to be as dreaded as you first intended to be, right? And then on top of that, all of this has already been influenced by the first outer layer of consciousness, family, school, church, father, mother, father, minister, teacher, minister, all of this. It's influencing who you are. It's influencing your unconscious, your dreaded self, your ideal, your real self. Everything, every single one are influenced by that.
I agree.
And it's supposed to be like that. We're supposed to go to school, and we're supposed to be thought right and wrong, and we're supposed to be thought the avenue to healthy way of life, right? But in between that, other things, we are influenced by other things as well. So then on top of that, we have the other layer of the conscious, what influences all of the one below is the city group, where you live in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country, in your region, in your continent, right? So there is a certain consciousness to that. Think of it as a certain culture. It's a certain way of doing things, certain way of thinking, of eating, of dressing, of talking so many different languages, right? So this is a layer of consciousness that influences the self, right? And that's not it. Then we go to the next layer of the global planetary level, right? Let's just say with our planet Earth, but this continues to expand to all of the universes. So all of this layer, they have a collective unconscious. Carl Jung is just so graciously teaching us about this collective unconscious. So from this global planetary, from this city, country, group, families, called church, everything trickles down upon us. The good things, so we take the good things and we want to stay with the good, healthy things. But what's happening, I'm going to stick with United States, all of the hatred that's been experienced in United States, I'm puzzled, I'm surprised, I'm baffled of how can that happen in the land of the free. So because of this layer of the consciousness at the really high level of the governments, really high level of the country, to some extent to the continent too, all of the hatred, all of the blame, it triggered a lot of hatred. All of the hatred that's been generated at a higher level of consciousness, blame, hatred, trickles down into all of, think of it, thought patterns. It's like droplets of the rain. It trickles down and eventually everybody gets wet by this trickles of the rain, which is a thought feeling pattern, right? So when that happens, because this is made available at someone that is so famous and has a big title, doesn't matter who it is, but someone that is famous, has a big title, therefore exerts a high degree of influence. Mm-hmm. All of that blaming and hatred trickles down, and it goes into people consciousness, and then it goes into, to some degree, it sits for a while into the consciousness, like, oh, I see what's happening, I don't like it, or I like it, oh, I agree with it, yeah, everybody should be reprimanded for all of the wrong with it. Oh yeah, he's saying it, oh, I didn't know they're doing it. So it sits a while in the consciousness, and then it goes into your unconscious.
Yeah. And then the body keeps the score.
From the unconscious, every patterns that said there in your unconscious, Claudia, it triggers some of the not necessarily all the wounds, but it triggers your beliefs and your values and your meta programs. Yeah, it triggers all of this, become an outer habit. So if you were wronged at some point in your life and you feel strong about it, then you're gonna agree with all of the blame and the hatred that comes from me. Yeah, I need to blame that person who had wronged me. But the way this higher conscious comes and triples into your consciousness, you begin to identify with somebody else's hatred, with somebody else's blaming, somebody completely outside of your life, has no, don't even never phantom.
You're saying people are taking it on board as though it's their own, and that's why, yes. And then people actually are becoming ill from it, or because it's making them feel this distress inside their body, then they need to numb that feeling, and so then they're either eating, drinking, taking drugs, or doing something else to get rid of that feeling.
Yes, to some degrees. In addition to all that, so when all of this blame and hatred comes in, that there's a wrongdoing, because the blame begins to exist because of an apparent wrongdoing, and we have been wrong done in through our life often. Everybody does. It's just how life it is. That begins to connect, the reference point begins to connect in what already exists in people's life. My life connects to what exists in me, what exists in you. So through a lot of people within the unconsciousness of themselves, of their emotional intelligence, of their patterns, of their so many unconsciousness of part of the self, they begin to behave, demonstrate blame and hatred. The amount of hatred that's been made available in the United States, I'm still baffled. Not in this country. So that is such a serious, it's such a serious illness. And a lot of people say that people are awakening, and you need to reawaken. So yeah, please awaken. And awakening doesn't mean you become a Buddha and you meditate. That's not what awakening is. Awaken to that which affects you, and pay attention to your thoughts. Are your thoughts your thoughts, or are they coming from the collective unconscious at the highest level of the highest level and just dripping down like a rain droplets, and then makes you attaches to something of your own, and then it makes you behave. You begin to behave in a manner different than you would have behaved without it. Wow. This is sad.
And I don't think people are even aware of it, or even necessarily, because how can people be aware of it? Because it's just happening. So it's quite an enlightening conversation, Carmen.
I love talking about this.
It's definitely food. It's like really good food for thought. I know I've got a lot of people who just won't watch the news, won't have it near them, because there's nothing you can do about it. So there's it's quite Anyway, I tend not to get involved because I am English and I can't vote anyway. So it's and I just think, and I really don't understand the real depths of that hatred. I don't because I'm English, so I don't really understand it. I do my best to understand it, but it's like, as you say, it's gone on for generations. So it is generational, all this feeling. So yeah, it's quite a heavy subject.
Yes.
So what can we do to help lift that?
I'm gonna tell you what we can do, but this also happens in other countries too. It's just this is not.
I don't mind saying, I was in England when Brexit was going on. That was horrendous. That was very heavy. I know there was lots of arguments within families there. So that was pretty sucky. We've always been used to other things, and bit of fun, a bit of banter about football teams and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is sad when it's like politics, and it just ends up breaking up families, and there's so much hatred in between people.
Yes.
It's scary. It's not nice.
Yeah. Because politics influence our way of life. Yeah. So then we get.
I have my love earrings on. There we go.
There you go. Okay, let me explain on that.
Out.
Yes.
Love to everybody.
Yes. So this is what we can do, and this is what we can do. Just what can we do? It's nothing. There is a lot we can do, because consciousness out there is thought, feeling patterns, that thought forms, and the kind of thought that triggers a feeling, sometimes emotion too. What we can do is to populate the consciousness with love, acceptance, compassion, self-forgiveness, to do the work that me and you and others like us do, and actually sit in those feelings. Think of it as a prayer. And let it place it, so to speak, in the consciousness. It works. Well, you don't don't see it as, it's not palpable, but it works. How do we know it works? Well, so many studies have been done that the lowest crime rate happens Sunday morning in church times.
Yeah.
Prayer.
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting.
So if all we do is prayer, good prayer, there is more to do besides prayer. And prayer in meditation, it's a different type of a prayer when you meditate. But then when you intentionally begin to, what words do I want to use? To create this healthy thought patterns, to place them in the consciousness, then you do a lot. It's a lot.
No, I agree. And there are lots of people who put, it was the same with the hurricanes, actually. If you put the energy of good thought, calming stuff towards the hurricane, apparently it would calm it down. But if you feed it and go, with, as you say, with the anger, the hatred, then it'll get the devastation, then it'll get even bigger. So there you go. Energy. It's quite interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating.
Consciousness. Energy, consciousness.
Well, they're going to choose to be conscious of it. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Yes. So see? Okay, I'm going to take this back to when I started with the practitioner tools. All of these tools are going to help the client into what they choose to be conscious of.
Yeah.
And a lot of this goes into repatterning and reframe, exactly what we did earlier with the Havening technique. You repattern so beautifully.
Well, I just guided it. People did their own.
You did. You did. So I'll take the compliment.
Carmen, so how do people get the tools? They just get in touch with you on founderoffeelfulness.org?
Yes, they can definitely find it there. And on your podcast, I'm going to provide you with a link and give you the link over there. And there's a lot of tools. And in addition to this positive psychology tools, there's also a lot of content that it's made for online. We just need to have so much content online. I am exhausted with how much content we need to have online.
There is a lot.
These are the times. These are the times we live in. So there's a lot of material on that. A lot of ebooks and workbooks and journaling for people that benefit from it. Me personally, I don't need to journal to write it down. I journal in a different manner, but so many other people, again, this takes them into the direction for them becoming conscious of what the requirements are. When they aware of what the requirements are, this is subconscious requirements, then they say, oh, I can do that. I'm a good student. So it's phenomenal. So many tools.
Okay, so we've got those links. Okay, brilliant.
Yes.
I think we'd better end there because because I hope people have found this as fascinating as it is, and we can probably do another, and we will talk on it or something else, maybe the ego. There we go. Because that's a good one. So thank you for watching, everybody. And it's goodbye from me, Claudia Ricard, and it's goodbye from
Carmen.
There we
goodbye
go.
from me, Carmen, the Romanian hypnotist.
Brilliant. All right. Take care, everybody.